on this episode of MythBusters. Adam and Jamie unleash the big guns as they take aim at Archimedes.
I gotta say, it's almost too exciting.
Things get red hot as the boys build a colossal cannon powered by steam.
That's hot.
3, 2, 1.
And then the MythBusters put their money where their mouths are
Kind of reminds me of high school for some reason.
as they sniff out what's got more nutrients, breakfast cereal or the box it comes in.
Smells like poo.
Who are the MythBusters? Adam Savage and Jamie Heineman.
This is gonna kill you.
Between them, over 30 years special effects experience.
That's what I'm talking about.
Joining them, Tori Belleci,
Very excited about this.
Carrie Byron,
Look, he cracked into his skull.
and Grant Imahara.
Don't say anything.
They don't just tell the myths, they put them to the test. First up, a blast from the past.
Archimedes' steam cannon.
Yep. The myth is that Archimedes created a steam cannon around 214 BC to protect the city of Syracuse from a siege.
But didn't it take us like 2 seasons to bust the last Archimedes myth?
Ain't that the truth? The last Archimedes superweapon turned out to be nothing more than smoke and mirrors.
Our death ray doesn't seem to be working. I'm standing right in it, and I'm not dead yet.
Despite the combined brain power of the MythBusters and MIT, the solar death ray was just hot air. But now, Archimedes is back with a steam cannon.
So what do we have on this?
Not much. We've got a 1-page drawing and some backwards Italian scribbles from Leonardo da Vinci. No attribution there about where he got it. He just mentions Archimedes as the originator. Then we've got some plans from Greek inventor Syracuse.
Well, the Syracuse design is just basically a barrel that you heat the back end of. It looks like it's got some valving on top and a gravity feed for water.
Well, I have to say, looking at these 2 plans, let's start with the Syracuse first, especially since he built it in a pretty reasonable scale.
Okay.
It all sounds so easy. Yet somehow, Adam and Jamie have got to copy this code and build some extraordinary ordnance. A steam cannon that would make Archimedes proud. But they're going to start by building a proof-of-concept, pint-sized pocket rocket.
We're here picking up a variety of copper pipe fittings and sections of pipe because we're going to assemble all this into a small-scale version of the Archimedes steam cannon.
Back at the shop, Jamie's converting the copper into the propulsion part of the cannon. It's this piping that will become the steam tank of the tank. Meanwhile, Adam's concentrating on the business end, and for that, he's got wood.
I'm making the barrel to an Archimedean steam cannon, at least a small-scale one.
But it's not long before Adam's cannon barrel starts taking a turn for the worse. With a little extra effort and a lot of expletives, Adam finally scrapes the bottom of the barrel.
It fits perfectly. Look at that.
But when Jamie sees the mess, he's steaming.
Adam, for whatever his other, good points, is a pain in the butt to work with. Not only was he not content to practically destroy about a $30,000 lathe, he apparently was so little affected by that experience that he didn't even bother to clean it up afterwards. Just, knock me down and then kick me, why don't you?
Adam's antics have made Jamie very hot under the collar, which is rather apt because this whole steamy story is about temperature. When you heat a kettle, the water inside slowly turns into steam. But if you massively crank up the heat, water can flash to steam in an instant. This causes a huge increase in pressure, and hey presto, there's a projectile. That's the theory. But how does this copper contraption put it into practice?
What we have here is a miniature replica of Archimedes' steam cannon. We'll put some water in through this funnel here, retain it in this chamber, heat this whole thing up to where it's as hot as we can get it, open this valve, let the water go down in here, a bunch of steam is created instantly, it pressurizes this whole thing and fires this tennis ball out the end.
Again, it all sounds so easy, but at the Alameda firing station, Adam's not so convinced.
Well, the steam cannon's built, and there's nothing left to do on it but try it out. You know, we're out here in the open. We're gonna set up a fire, set up the cannon, see if it does anything besides just blow up.
And blow up it might. So as ever on MythBusters, safety is paramount. With the blast shields in place, Jamie ties up a quick release that'll flood the steam tank with water.
That's easy as pie.
Well, there we go. We're ready to heat it up.
Remember, they need to get the copper tank so hot that when the water is released into it, it flashes to steam immediately and propels the tennis ball so it settles out of court.
This is one of those things I have no idea what the outcome could be. It could fire 4 feet, we could lose it in the water 500 feet away.
Well, let's find out, because it's full steam ahead.
The worst case scenario on this is that the whole thing blows up and is so aggressive that we're all thrown back a couple hundred feet from the explosion and we die.
Adam might be laughing, but according to his temperature gauge, this baby bazooka is almost fit to burst.
This is actually kind of dangerous and kind of exciting.
With the tank reading 250 degrees, it's time to release the water into it and hopefully serve up an ace.
And 3, 2, 1.
But that's more of a double fault.
Hey, we're making a hot ball.
So what went wrong?
We don't really know why it failed. It could be a couple of things. It could be that there wasn't enough water. It could be that there wasn't a good enough seal. It could be that we didn't have enough heat.
So for test 2, they're looking at 3 alterations. First, they cover the tennis ball in cloth and grease to ensure a tight fit in the barrel.
That's a tight seal.
Then they add more water. And most importantly, they then bring her to boil with twice as many propane heaters to ramp up the temperature.
I'm feeling a little more optimistic this time than last time, but I still only give it a 30% chance of success.
We're just working out the bugs.
With the ball as snug as a bug in a rug, how's the temperature doing?
I'm getting around 400 degrees.
Surely 400 degrees will be hot enough to flash the water to steam. Cover your ears. Here comes test 2.
3, 2, 1.
Now what do we do?
We didn't get the luscious poof that we wanted.
400 degrees just ain't enough to get a luscious poof. For that, in the third and final test, they need the tank to be even hotter.
Oh, it's climbing pretty rapidly this time.
This time, the burners peak at a whopping 500 degrees.
That's definitely the hottest we've seen it so far.
Will the tennis ball finally go ballistic?
And 3, 2, 1.
No. After 3 failures, it's looking like game and set to the myth, but the match ain't over yet.
I mean, we're not going to stop until we get a foom by hell or high water, so we're just going to keep going until we get that.
Cannons propelled by gunpowder were the mainstay of any armada's arsenal from as early as the 15th century. But did the great Archimedes invent a cannon powered by steam almost 2,000 years earlier? Well, not if the MythBusters are anything to go by. They just couldn't get their copper cannon hot enough to result in a boom.
1.
With this steamy story boiling towards busted, the team calls in the cavalry.
Hey, Roger. Welcome to M5.
Thank you.
Roger McCarthy investigates engineering disasters, so he should be ideal for this myth. And he brings good news about steam.
All a high explosive is a material that changes from solid to gas very rapidly. You're taking solid water and you're using heat to instantly flash it to gas.
I mean, it sounds like you're actually pretty optimistic that we could get this to work and work very effectively.
There is no question that if we engineered this properly, it would shoot a projectile. And so the question is, how many yards?
Personally, I think we'd be totally delighted with just a few hundred feet. Proof of concept here.
Speak for yourself.
Largely thanks to Roger, the boys come up with 4 design changes that may just make this cannon hit pay dirt. First, they'll add more water through a thicker pipe. Second, they'll put in a specially drilled tube that will drip the water onto all parts of the hot tank. Third, they'll throw in a bunch of copper nails to try to increase the hot surface area. And lastly, they'll crank the temperature up to the max. That's Roger's remedy, but it's down to Jamie to build it, starting with the new water inlet.
You go.
Can't beat that.
You can't beat that.
Then it's the new distribution pipe. With that nailed, that just leaves the nails, and she's almost ready.
I'm gonna put the ball in first, then I'm gonna clear out, you're gonna put the water in, and you'll clear out and we'll launch it.
As well as the new additions to the cannon, they're maximizing their chance of a steam flash by heating the copper with a blowtorch.
We're at about 500 degrees there.
Syracuse, beware. This cannon's ready to blow.
Oh, dude, let's go. 3, 2, 1.
Firing. Well, it fired.
It did. It fired.
It wasn't very deadly, but it definitely fired.
Jamie, that was the cutest little cannon I have ever seen.
Cute, yes. Deadly, not unless the opposing army died laughing. But Jamie has found proof that this was actually a success.
Oh my God.
I think there is a reason that that this thing wasn't firing as energetically.
No, I think what we have is a reason why the Greeks didn't use tennis balls.
The heat melted the tennis ball out of shape, so much of the steam pressure escaped around it. Remarkably, it's mission accomplished, so it's time to unleash the big guns.
Look, we got a proof of concept. I want to move on.
Yeah, I'm tired of these little things.
So picture me, a little child, sitting in my mom's grocery cart, being pushed through the aisles, looking for cereal. And I'd like point at the box of super sugar hyper pop or something like that. And she says, like all mothers say, no, you can't have that cereal because the box has more nutritional value than the food.
Well, like beavers eat wood. That's sort of a wood product.
Do I look like a beaver to you?
Sometimes.
Well, actually more like a ginger gopher. But beavers and other rodents aside, Adam's mom is not alone in believing this myth of calorific chaos.
Big puffs of wheat tumble through hot sugar and honey until they're deliciously, delightfully crisp.
But is it the cereal or the box that keeps you sweet?
Have the cereal just sweet enough for the whole family.
How do we test it?
Well, you know, eventually one of us is going to have to eat a lot of cardboard, like you had to do in the South Pacific that time. And the other's going to have to eat a lot of sugary cereal. But for starters, we should just figure out what the caloric content of each is. Run this through a test with a calorimeter and run this stuff and find out how many calories you'll get out of them.
Yummy.
To make the cereal box more palatable, Jamie's whisking it up into a cardboard smoothie.
Kind of reminds me of high school for some reason.
Ah, Jamie's school days, practicing football, growing facial hair, and drinking cardboard. But his recipe gets stranger still as he turns it into pellets.
Yeah.
Wow. Are you replicating the intestines of some small furry animal?
Here, have some.
Have you tried it?
Yeah.
You know, it tastes uncannily like cardboard. Just thought some sound effects would help that sequence.
As Jamie prepares more of next week's dinner, Grant's helping Adam with something much more energetic.
As it turns out, there is a way to tell how much energy is contained in a food, and that's by using a calorimeter. These can get pretty complicated, but I think we should be able to find or make something that's pretty simple that will get us in the ballpark.
One internet order later, and Adam's all set to get right in that ballpark.
That'll help.
But exactly how does this calorimeter work?
I burn it underneath a pot full of water. If I know exactly how much water I have and what temperature it was when I began burning the food, by the time it's all done burning, I measure the temperature, and that tells me with an equation what the caloric content of that food was.
To check it's all working, Adam's going to run a test with some candy whose calorific content he already knows.
I've got 100 milliliters of water. I've got my candy, which I know to be 80 calories of candy right here, and I'm hoping when I burn it that my figures show roughly 80 calories of energy expended.
That's the theory, but there's a technical hitch.
No, this is no good. I can't get the candy lit.
The candy just won't catch fire, which means Adam can't calibrate his calorimeter.
I'm gonna move on to something else. Putting together a calorimeter is the work of a couple of minutes. Making it work, a lifetime.
So far, it's hardly a rip-snorting success, but Adam's going to plow on regardless, starting with his mom's nemesis, a commonly available cereal.
Look at that.
And remarkably, it works. Adam's lit exactly 1 gram of the breakfast booty, and it's slowly heating 100 mils of water.
And we're out. I'm gonna start reading the temperature now, even though it's gonna take a couple minutes to reach the full temperature.
The water temperature went up by 10 degrees, which, after some complex calculations, means that 1 gram of cereal equals 9 calories. Can the regular run-of-the-mill cereal box do any better?
It smells like poo.
Well, no. After it's burnt completely, Adam does more sums to find that the box has 20% less energy than the cereal. So what does that mean for Adam's mom?
At this point, Mom is wrong, but Mom got a lot closer than I would have pegged. I wouldn't have thought that the cardboard box would show only 20% less calories than the cereal.
With the scales tipped in favor of the cereal, it's time to start banqueting on box. Steam power is not to be sniffed at. After all, it's what fueled the great locomotives of the Industrial Revolution. But over 2,000 years earlier, did Archimedes use steam to power a cannon? Well, the MythBusters' small-scale steam cannon may have looked more comic than killer, but as proof of concept, this was a success. So, here comes the big guns.
Well, Adam, I think it's time we go full scale with this one.
Look, I think if we build this, we should do something a little different with this myth and not limit ourselves to period materials here. We should go with modern materials and go with the best technology we can apply to illustrating the principle of Leonardo's design. And if we can't do it with everything that we have, there's no way Leonardo could have done it, and there's no way in hell Archimedes could have used this.
I agree.
Da Vinci's colossal cannon consists of a barrel which is heated in a brazier until it's so hot that a sudden injection of water explodes to steam and fires out a projectile. It's a simple design, but the tricky part is going to be finding a big enough barrel. But this should do.
The barrel of the steam cannon is going to be a 20-foot long, 6-inch Schedule 80 pipe.
The barrel's the size of a Second World War howitzer, but is it big enough? After all, the MythBusters want to fire this, a 24-pound cast-iron Civil War cannonball.
I'll wager it doesn't fit.
I'd say that's a perfect fit.
Hold on. Oh, wait. Ah! That was scary.
With a fit this perfect, the MythBusters can't help but celebrate with a game of howitzer handball.
Not bad. Old warfare sucked. Ready? Yeah, he's throwing it right at me.
But before any balls ups,
Okay, that's enough of that.
Yeah, that's enough of that.
the race is on to get this build firing. And first, Adam sets to work on the coal-fired brazier.
Then I've got a thermocouple, which is actually a kiln thermometer. I want to know exactly when this barrel reaches about 900 degrees.
900 degrees should be enough to get the water to flash to steam. But how to get the water in?
This is intended to simply be an air actuator, a piston. We're going to put water in one side and then put air in there and push the water out the other side.
Jamie's precious pressure system should inject the water in less than 30 milliseconds. With the water injector up and running, the final step is pure retro.
Ooh. Look at these. Oh, that's beautiful.
There's no need to reinvent the wheel because these are straight from the Civil War. They're the wheel deal. At last, everything's set to introduce the brazier to the barrel. And the MythBusters are packing the world's first working Leonardo da Vinci steam cannon.
That is so satisfying.
And like all boys with their toys, they're pretty damn excited about it.
Booze. Boom. I'm having some pride issues here. I can't wait to see how much power this thing has.
But before any power propulsions, the MythBusters first hit the history books.
What kind of historical evidence do we have to support this myth?
A precious little, but we came across these two. One in Petrarch's Remedies for Fortune, Fair and Foul. We have what used to be thrust forth by the clouds of heaven is now being thrust forth by a machine conceived in hell. And then we had Valturio's De Re Militari translated at great expense and came up with this.
The cannon, or bombarda as it's commonly called, is a contrivance made of metal which, through the agency of flame and a sulphurous, or perhaps one should say hellish, powder, hurls bronze missiles.
You'll notice in neither of these references the mention of the word steam.
The history books may not be steamy novels, but the MythBusters are ready to see if their cannon Colossus can make Archimedes proud.
I gotta say, it's pretty exciting. It's almost too exciting. You know, we made this big thing that nobody's ever seen before. Apparently, there's a lot of potential in this thing, and it's big. So if it works, it's gonna be really dramatic.
With the cannon locked and loaded,
Was that the coolest sound ever?
they aim her down the runway.
That looks pretty good.
And then make sure there's fire in the hole. Last up, they put a sock on the end of the barrel to help them locate the fired ball, because Da Vinci reckoned this thing could fire over 3,000 feet.
The vibe right now is that this thing is gonna work. We're all a little giddy. I give a 20% chance that absolutely nothing will happen when we push the launch button. I give a 70% chance of success. That is, the ball leaving the end of this barrel. And I'm only gonna give a 10% chance that we actually find that ball.
But launch will only take place when the cannon is so hot that all the water injected in through the actuators will flash to steam in an instant. And 1,000 degrees should be hot enough.
Okay, let's get out of here.
Clear the decks. This mother is about to get fired.
I think it's time. Give a countdown.
3, 2, 1.
Well, that hardly knocked their socks off. The water definitely got injected. So what went wrong? Well, on closer inspection, there's your problem.
Adam,
What do you see?
it's steam. Look at the water dripping off.
The inside of the barrel simply wasn't hot enough to get that instantaneous flash. So they're going to up the ante.
Well, we've got it now at like 1,500 degrees. That's what the thermocouple is reading. So I think we just want to stoke this fire. Stoke it, stoke it, stoke it, stoke it, stoke it, get it super, super hot, and then we go, and then we'll get a result. I'm wired. I'm totally wired. Trying to figure out what's going on inside of very hot, very dangerous things. It's nerve-wracking.
It sure is bad for the nerves, because at these temperatures, the very structural integrity of the barrel is in jeopardy.
That's a glowing barrel. We're good for test number 2. Give a countdown, Jamie.
Okay, 3, 2, 1. Oh.
I feel terrible. I want this thing to work. I don't know what could have happened there. I don't want to talk about it.
Playback shows the piping leaking significantly because of the heat. If these modern materials can't cope, then how could the ancient Greeks? With the light fading, Adam welds over the leaks and adds more coals. Then, as a last-ditch effort, they decrease the angle of the barrel to make it easier for the cannonball to fire.
3, 2, 1.
Wait for it.
There went the ball.
It's yet another MythBusters balls up, which leaves this myth dribbling towards busted.
I was hoping that would actually work, but all we have to show for it is a nice warm ball.
A boy, a man, and Sugar Crisp.
Adam and Jamie are investigating some morning mayhem from Adam's mom. She reckons that the box the cereal comes in is more nutritious than the cereal itself.
Whole grain and wholesome, you'll like Sugar Crisp.
But so far, Adam's mom is not doing well.
Look at that.
In the calorimeter energy test, Adams just found that the box contains 20% fewer calories than the cereal.
Next is to look at what the cereal box and the cereal are actually comprised of, what kind of proteins, fats, amino acids, whatever might be in them. We need to actually break them down and see what in there might be available to the body.
To do this nutrition test, an eating competition had beckoned for the MythBusters. But with low-calorie cereal box on the menu for one of them, it seems they've turned chicken.
My original plan was that you'd eat cardboard for a week and I'd eat some sugary cereal for a week. It seems kind of ideal for both of us. But I think we'd both cheat. I know you'd cheat, and I'm pretty sure that I would end up cheating too.
Well, not only that, but I'm actually not just concerned about the nutritional value of the cardboard, but the other things that are in there as well, like you know, things I wouldn't want, maybe from the ink or something like that that might be bad for you.
So the human lab rat experiment is canned. Jamie was scared by potential toxins in the cardboard. Adam by the chance Jamie would cheat. So instead, they're going to do something more scientific. No longer are they going to be guinea pigs, but chemists.
It may not look like much, but it's science.
They're going to test the cereal and the box for fat, protein, starch, and sugars.
Oh, that's lovely. It's like a sugary mash.
And for each test, they've got a control to see what a positive result looks like. First up, they're probing the fat content.
In this one, all we do is dip a test strip into each of the liquids for 5 seconds.
Starting with the control, some fat-rich olive oil.
A positive test will turn the pad deep red. So that's a positive test for lipids.
Okay, so our control is good.
Next up, the cardboard box.
It doesn't seem that there's any fat in the cardboard. So remember this, kids, cardboard is low in fat.
But with the cereal, there is a hint of red to the dipstick.
So there's a bit of fat in the cereal.
A little bit.
Cereal?
It's 1-0 to the cereal.
Okay. Starches.
In the iodine starch test, the control gives a positive dark blue hue, a color slightly replicated by the cardboard, but much more so by the starchy breakfast bites.
Oh yeah. Cereal, positive, lots.
Yeah.
Meaning it's 2-0 to the cereal. Next up, the sugar test, and this one requires a bit of microwave action.
What the hell is going on in here? Here's the original stuff with cardboard in it, and it looks exactly the same color as it did. This is the cereal, and if it has a greenish tinge or a yellowish tinge, it indicates the presence of sugars.
Finally, the protein test makes it a myth-busting 4-0 to the cereal.
So there's no protein in the cardboard.
And to check all their results, Adam looks at the box information.
Why didn't we just look at the darn box in the first place?
The reason we have to do this is because while it does give you some of the values of the nutrients in the cereal, they have neglected to put any of the values of the nutrients in the cardboard box.
You mean they actually don't intend that we eat the box?
Dun, dun, dun.
After some sugar-induced silliness, it's time to wrap this one up.
Well, breakfast cereal versus the cardboard box it comes in, what are our results?
Well, on the calorimeter test, the breakfast cereal won. It had 22% more calories than the cardboard box.
What about testing for specific nutrients?
Cereal won hands down in that test as well. Mom, I'm sorry, but you were totally wrong. That's completely busted.
In the myth of the Archimedes steam cannon, Adam and Jamie rolled out a barrel bigger than a Vietnam howitzer. But size is where the comparison ends, because their cannon was about as dangerous as a frisbee.
Well, I don't know about you, but I'd call this myth busted.
Without a doubt. We threw everything we could at this, from high-speed injectors to modern materials to the best advice we could get, and we met all of the conditions that we were told to get, including getting the back of that barrel red hot, getting the exact amount of water we should have gotten in, and we didn't get a launch. It's totally busted.
Well, you know, seeing that ball kind of come rolling lazily out the end of the barrel didn't quite do it for me. I think we have to actually launch the ball somehow, and that would mean that we have to build a proper boiler with a valve on it.
I'm going to build a small-scale one that I guarantee will actually fire a cannonball, just so we have some kind of explosion out of this.
The MythBusters can't leave this myth without a bang. And with Leonardo's design busted, Adam's got a plan B. Their last cannon relied on water being added and flashing to steam instantly. This time, thanks to a heavy-duty valve, they'll heat the water inside the chamber until the steam pressure is such that when the valve is opened, the results are explosive. And to open the pressure valve fast enough, Adam's using those pneumatic actuators again.
The only thing strong enough to do it fast. It would take me about a full 2 seconds to pull it. This does it in about a quarter of that time.
That should be fast enough to give it the oomph that their earlier, more authentic effort clearly lacked. With the gas on, the pressure in the tank is building.
Right now, we're at about 75, 80 PSI.
That's about twice the pressure of a car tire, and more than good enough for a test.
I'm gonna go.
Okay.
Ready?
Firing!
Firing! 3, 2, 1. Yeah!
I didn't see where that went.
I didn't see where it went either. I just heard it go pop.
Not so much pop as boom. The projectile came out so fast that no one can locate it, except for Jamie, who's always got his eye on the ball.
Oh!
Where is it?
It's
Dude! That is so cool! That's perfect!
At last, Adam's shown that steam can fire a projectile with serious power.
It's wedged in there I don't know if I could build something that could wedge it in there that hard. Oh, apparently I did.
It's the perfect proof of concept test. So now it's Big Brother beckons.
Well, full scale, that shouldn't take that long. It's pretty simple. We could knock that out in a couple days.
And it'll be dramatic. I mean, we should be able to launch a cannonball pretty far using steam.
The new cannon is going to be 20 times the size of Adam's prototype. And its success all boils down to this boiler, which some viewers might recognize. This giant tube was once part of the hair cream myth fighter.
Peter.
But before that, it started life as the boat-slamming sharammer. And as a boiler, it could be just as dangerous.
We got a response back from the Boilermaker about our design. I'm going to read you the salient points.
Okay.
Your design is not for a boiler, it is for a bomb.
The boiler is already generating heat with the insurance company, but some welding from Adam ensures this baby won't blow.
This iteration of the steam cannon, and hopefully the last iteration of the steam cannon, is basically just a big pressure vessel. A boiler. We're going to put a couple of inches of water in a sealed metal container with a valve on it. We're going to put a barrel in front of the valve, a cannonball down that barrel. We're going to start heating up that water. It's going to create steam, which is going to build pressure inside here, and when we get the pressure we want, we release our valve, the cannonball shoots off into the distance. And our insurance company is freaking out about this thing.
And with good reason.
When you do the math, the pressures in this thing are enormous. We've got enough pressure in this boiler to actually bow out the bottom about a ½ an inch.
Well, a few safety reinforcements takes care of that, meaning she's ready for launch.
We have to finish this episode with some kind of explosion or launch that goes poom. That's in my contract.
And now, for something completely different.
How many different ways can you start a myth? What's this one?
I don't want you to take this personally. You know how we take a lot of suggestions from our fans and viewers off of our website?
Yeah.
Well, there's been quite some suggestion and blogs and discussion about the state of your smile.
Flashingly brilliant is not how Adam's teeth have been described. Instead, words like dirty and decrepit spring to mind. But the fans want to know if Adam really does have the dirtiest teeth at MythBusters, or is that a myth in itself? To put this sorry saga to the test, Adam, Jamie, Tori, and Grant are going head-to-head to see who has the most tarnished teeth on the team. With teeth beyond reproach, Carrie will be judge and jury. But to peer into the mouths of the mustachioed MythBusters, she's going to need a little help.
Ah, I got it. That's a tractor, isn't it? This is the free access cheek retractor, the latest technology in cheek retraction.
As well as the cheeky cheek spreaders, Carrie also needs some dodgy dentures. These represent the full spectrum of teeth color and will be perfect for judging this cosmetic competition. And back at the shop, Carrie's perverting her purchases into a coloring contraption that's ideal for this mini myth.
Mr. Heineman, will you please step this way? This right here is the technology in cheek retraction.
Jamie seems to be strangely subdued by the thought of spreading his cheeks on national TV.
So before I get into this torture device, what is it that you're doing with this?
I need to get a baseline of how white your teeth are. No weird tricks.
No weird tricks, but Jamie's not convinced.
Wow.
Oh my God.
And rightly so. After all, Carrie likes a practical joke as much as the next person. But that Baghdad battery gag bombed, and Carrie's learned her lesson.
Well, I see this as plastic, so it'd be kind of hard for you to give me an electric shock through this thing.
Viewers of a nervous disposition may want to look away now.
This is horrible.
Comfortable?
Not exactly.
Remarkably, it turns out that beneath the bristles, Jamie does in fact have teeth. But how's their color? Well, according to the chart, they're a 4R 1.5. But what does that mean in layman's terms?
My teeth are positively brown.
It's a poor start for Jamie. His teeth are in a bad way. How will the next entrant, Tori, compare to this?
All right, so what do I do? Shove these things in my mouth?
Tori's so confident he's got a winning smile that he can't help but try a few of his favorite pickup lines.
So, what's going on? Guys come here a lot? Don't I know you?
Somehow, Carrie keeps her self-restraint and grades Tori's teeth.
I'm going with 2R.
You're on the whiter scale.
No surprise there. Tori's teeth trounce Jamie's.
Granty,
Next is Grant.
I've just disinfected them and washed them off because I just had a feeling that you didn't want to share Tori's cooties.
So that's been in Tori's mouth?
Yeah, but it's been disinfected with a spray and with a cloth and washed. I mean, I just didn't want it to be like you've kissed every girl that he's kissed.
There's not enough disinfectant in the world for that.
But some arm twisting by the producer, and he's suddenly convinced.
Yes.
This is so gross. It smells funny.
You have slightly whiter teeth than Tori.
So Grant too is saved. His teeth are remarkably white. So this tainted title all boils down to Jamie versus Adam.
Okay. There is no dignity on television. So don't do this tooth, because it's fake. A small Texan man punched it out of my face years ago.
Another interesting snippet from Adam's pre-myth-busting days. And that's not the only surprise in store. Wait for it.
You've got slightly whiter teeth than Jamie.
Maybe it was his chewing tobacco habit.
What?
I read, maybe it was his chewing tobacco habit.
Whatever the reason, Adam's teeth are, much to everyone's amazement, whiter or less brown than Jamie's. On the MythBusters color chart, Adam's teeth are a full shade whiter than last place Jamie's. And Jamie has not taken the news well.
I was actually a little peeved at first when I found out Adam's teeth were whiter than mine.
Sure, it's nice. After all the ribbing about my personal hygiene, it's very entertaining.
But just when Adam is off the ugly hook, Jamie's competitive streak takes over.
Welcome to the future.
In a fit of vanity, unable to cope with having teeth worse than Adam's, Jamie has come to get his teeth professionally whitened. He's placed under a special light that will activate a bleaching chemical on his teeth. And after an hour watching MythBusters reruns on the TV, he's jumped up by 10 shades. Carrie is amazed. But how will Jamie react?
Oh, yeah.
He's a hard audience, this Heineman, but eventually he agrees.
Looks much brighter.
So there you have it. Jamie moves to the Hollywood end of the scale, which means that poor old Adam really does now officially have the dirtiest dentures on the team.
Fans are just gonna have to deal with my teeth, okay?
The myth of the Archimedes steam cannon is busted. Adam and Jamie's efforts were about as effective as a mop in a monsoon. But all is not lost. They've built a brand new cannon that is way beyond the realm of what Archimedes could do. But here at Alameda, it might just work.
Okay, everybody stand back. The gun's now loaded.
Funny man. He's a funny, funny man.
With the boiler fully primed, the rest of the calamitous cannon is assembled. But how does it work again?
We've got a boiler here. This will be sealed with this valve right here. It's got hot charcoal underneath it, heating up some water inside. Once it's sealed, that water, turning to steam, will start to build pressure in this boiler. When that pressure, which we'll view on this gauge remotely from a camera, gets to around 175 to 200 psi, that's pounds per square inch, we're going to remotely release this valve from back behind the blast shields, and that valve is going to let all of that steam pressure inside this boiler into the barrel all at once, behind the wadding, behind the cannonball, and shoot that cannonball at the city of San Francisco.
It all sounds so easy. With the hot coals shoveled into place, it's from now on that the boiler should be building pressure. But after 5 minutes, it's not going well.
It's going to take an hour to build that kind of pressure.
I'm reading exactly bupkis on the pressure meter, but as soon as we see it start to climb, we're going to retreat over to our safety zone and get ready to launch. It's going to work. It has to work. I'm willing it to work. All of my will is working on this thing.
But when it comes to steam cannons, where there's a will, there's a won't.
Still don't have any pressure here.
Jamie's answer? Blast those coals with compressed air. which heats them enough to threaten the rubber in their all-important butterfly valve. Wetting a towel to cool the valve threatens to put out the coals. And there's still no pressure.
No, I'm not seeing any effect yet.
When everything goes wrong, you might as well wrap the boiler in insulating fiberglass. And what do you know?
Hey, it's moving! We're making some steam. It's climbing. It's now like 11 psi. It's moving slowly, but it's moving!
But is it moving fast enough?
Gotta get from there to there. Something tells me that the angle of the sun is gonna have a lot more to do with when we launch this thing than the angle of this needle.
With the sun dropping, the race is on to get the cannon fired before Jamie loses his sanity.
By my watch, it's climbing about a PSI every 2.5 minutes. The sun is gonna set at about 5:30. So we got about 70 minutes, and we wanna get, we're just going to have to be fine with about 60 to 70 PSI maybe.
That's only a third of the pressure they wanted. But beggars can't be choosers, and the MythBusters are currently begging.
Please, I wanna put this one to bed.
Jamie adds a bunch more coals. Then a blast of air.
We're at 45 PSI.
And at last, they've reached the danger zone.
We're above 50 PSI. All right, it's time for us to go. Let's go, come on.
With the team hunkering down for safety, the pressure in the boiler continues to climb.
We're just over 60 PSI here. I swear, looking how hot that valve was getting, I don't want it to fail.
You're right.
My vote would be for firing it within the next 5 minutes. This just has to work.
Yeah.
If it doesn't work, we're idiots. Now, we may be idiots anyway, and that's fine with me. But I'd rather be idiots with an explosion.
Wouldn't we all?
10 seconds.
The MythBusters have toiled for an age on a steam-powered cannon, and this is their last chance. It's now or never.
68 PSI, your go for launch.
Okay, 68 PSI. Firing in 3, 2, 1. Yeah!
Hey! Yeah! Boom! Take your eyes off of it.
At last, a cannon catapulted by steam. It's mission accomplished. But how far did the 24-pound ball actually fly?
Yeah! Let's measure out this launch. Dude, I'm so psyched. I feel like really good.
They sure scored with the cannon, but where's the ball? After scouring the entire grounds, they're about to give up. Until a mile down the runway, Jamie hits pay dirt.
Oh, I'll be darned.
You didn't find it.
I did.
You did? Dude!
That was a solid mile. The ball made it a solid mile.
But that's not where it landed.
No, but still, it might have gone 1,000 feet or so would be my guess. We were only at about 65 PSI, maybe 68.
Uh-huh.
And we were shooting for 200. We were ready to do that. It just took too long, and so we fired it a little prematurely.
Yeah, we might have ended up hitting San Francisco at 200 PSI. So we were able to make a steam cannon, finally. But I think we're agreed. Archimedes and Leonardo could not have.
I agree.
All right.
It's busted.
The sun's gone down. Let's go home.
Okay.